There have been instances in history where presidential candidates have legitimate concerns about the fairness of the outcome. Richard Nixon in 1960 is a great example. Honestly, I think a lot of them are like the American public, where they've already made up their minds. I don't know how many of them are still up in the air about who they're going to vote for. And I'm not saying again that Trump is going to win, but there is something to that idea that at some point the impossible becomes the inevitable. And maybe 3 months out before the election, we're going to start stepping back and saying that Trump is going to win this election, and we need to think as political scientists and in public what that means for our policies and our politics going forward.
So I argue that there's two essential ways that presidents use religious rhetoric. The first is the bland, contentless, nondescript spiritual language that you might find in a Memorial Day address, Thanksgiving Day address. So it's interesting to people with an interest in presidential power. I think it's interesting to people who are trying to learn more about these specific moments in history.
Harry Truman hit 22% in public opinion polls. Just 22% approved of the job he was doing as president. But since then, we've come to see that his foreign policies had a lot of wisdom to them. Establishing NATO, right, shepherding the Marshall Plan through Congress. These things were seen as essential members to forestall additional Soviet expansion throughout Europe. At the same time, Truman's demeanor, his honesty, his plain-spoken ways, we gained greater appreciation for that when he was succeeded by people like Lyndon Johnson, who repeatedly lied to the country about the true extent of the United States' involvement in Vietnam, and Richard Nixon, who was not a crook when he actually was a crook.